What would you do if you walked in on this? Hit like if you've been betrayed, and comment below where you're watching from. Ma'am, can you hear me? The fluorescent lights in the emergency ward burned white spots into my vision. My chest felt tight, as if a fist had closed around my ribs. A nurse in navy scrubs leaned over me. You collapsed at work. Your blood pressure was dangerously high. I tried to sit up. My husband, Tund, call him. We did, she said gently. He said he's unavailable. A doctor adjusted my oxygen. Outside the curtain, monitors beeped and a child cried. I closed my eyes, trying to slow my breath. I thought of the bakery I co-managed in Surulere, how I'd been piping buttercream roses for a wedding cake when the room swayed and the floor rushed up. Domestic betrayal wasn't something you could ice over. It seeped into your bones, but I hadn't named mine yet. My phone buzzed on the metal tray. A message from my younger sister, Onika. Are you okay? And, have you seen Instagram Live? She sent a link. I tapped. A Lagos rooftop in Victoria Island pulsed with Afrobeats. Fairy lights, champagne towers, men in crisp agbatas, women in glittering aso ebi. At the center, my husband, Tund Adedeo, in a midnight blue kaftan embroidered with gold, raised a glass beside a woman with red onkarageli and a smile like a dare. The caption, Happy birthday, Beezy. The comments, Power couple. Cheating spouse alert? The camera swung as the MC shouted, Love is sweet oh. The crowd cheered while I lay under hospital lights, 4 in my arm. The nurse followed my gaze, winced, and adjusted the privacy curtain. Try to rest. But rest was a stranger. Images flooded me. The first time Tund walked me through Balogun Market, our son, Dammy, learning to ride a bike in our Lekki estate courtyard, the day we signed mortgage papers together. Family was supposed to be a shelter, not a storm. An hour later, Onika arrived, her Ankara wrapper hastily tied, eyes blazing. She took my hand, then whispered, He's trending, Ifyananya. Public disgrace. People are tagging you. Let them, I said, voice steadying into something sharper than grief. Call Mama Kike to pick Dammy from school. And please, call our lawyer. Onika stared. Lawyer. If he can party while I wear a hospital gown, we can talk to a lawyer while he holds a microphone. I swallowed, tasting metal. This isn't just infidelity in marriage. It's a line he stepped over. A soft chime announced a visitor. The curtain shifted. Tund's cousin, Lonra, poked his head in. Auntie Ifun, I came straight from the party. Don't be angry. Tund said he'll come. When? My voice was cool. After the fireworks. Lonra looked stricken. The mistress, Beezy, she insisted on photos. He didn't want. I raised a brow. He deflated. Okay. He wanted. The doctor returned with discharge papers. You need rest, low stress, no arguments. Follow up in 3 days. No driving tonight. Onika helped me dress. As she tied my scarf, she murmured, We'll go to my place in Yaba. Quiet. We stepped into the night. Lagos hummed, pepper soup steaming at a roadside joint, danfo horns, a generator growling. I felt both small and suddenly dangerously awake. My phone rang. Tund. I let it ring twice, then answered. Ifyananya, I heard, he said, voice sticky with fake concern. Hope you're fine. I'm alive, I said. Are you? He paused. Don't do that. The party was planned months ago. It's business. You kissed business on a rooftop, I said, while your wife lay under oxygen. He inhaled. We'll talk when you're calmer. The line went dead. Onika squeezed the steering wheel. I want to drag him on Facebook. I stared at the passing city, hawkers jogging between cars with plantain chips, a billboard for a bank promising family first, the ocean beyond the bridge glinting black. I imagined Beezy's red gelly, Tund's easy laugh, the hashtag African marriage drama doing laps online. Not yet, I said, my voice turning to glass. We'll drag him where it matters, contracts, accounts, custody, reputation. We turned into a quiet street lined with almond trees. Onika parked and helped me inside. She brewed zobo with ginger and clove. The sharp scent cut through my fear. I lay on the couch, listening to the fan tick. Domestic betrayal. Cheating spouse. Emotional manipulation. The words were suddenly not just keywords for other women's stories. I was the story now. My phone buzzed again. A new video pinged to the top of my feed. Tund and Beezy cutting a cake shaped like a crown. The MC shouted, "A queen deserves a king who chooses her." Tund fed Beezy a slice. The camera zoomed in. And then, Beezy looked directly into the camera and said, "Say hi to your wife, Tund." The room spun. The fan seemed to stop. "Onika," I whispered, holding up the screen. "She knows I'm watching." From the hallway, a knock slammed the quiet. Onika stiffened. "Who is that at this hour?" I sat up, pulse racing. "Open carefully." She unlatched the door. Tund stood there, eyes blazing, perfume sharp, kaftan shimmering with party light, flanked by 2 estate security guards. "Pack your things," he said. "Why?" I asked. "Because you're not coming home," he said, jaw tight. "Beezy is moving in." Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below. Are you throwing your wife into the night? Onika's voice cracked the quiet like thunder. After she collapsed at work. Tund's nostrils flared. "She's not on the lease here." "This is my flat," Onika said, stepping between us. "Not hers. And you will not disgrace our family on this street." The guards shifted, unsure. I stood slowly, legs trembling but spine straight. "Go home, Tund. We'll talk in daylight." He smiled, a thin blade. "Daylight has already spoken. Lagos saw me choose. I'm not hiding anymore." "Public disgrace has consequences," I said. "You think this is only about a mistress's party? It's about our son, our name, and your contracts. You sell services to companies that plaster family values in their ads. How will African marriage drama trend beside your brand?" He swallowed. "Don't threaten me." "It's not a threat," I said. "It's a mirror." Onika shut the door in his face. His voice thundered through wood. "You'll regret this." "Not as much as you," Onika muttered. Inside, I shook so hard the cup rattled in my hand. "He wants to humiliate me." "He already did," Onika said softly, sitting beside me. "Now we decide what we want, peace or justice." "Both," I said. "For me and for Dammy." We barely slept. At dawn, the muezzin's call drifted through the neighborhood, folding into roosters and early traffic. I opened my messages to a flood, co-parenting conflict warnings, pity, gossip, private DMs from women saying, "I know this pain." A blogger I once supplied cakes to had posted my wedding photo beside Tund and Beezy's rooftop kiss. The headline, "Cheating Spouse Chooses Party Over Wife in Hospital. Lagos Reacts." I typed a single response on my story. "I collapsed at work. I am stable. Pray for my son." Then I put the phone down and breathed. By mid-morning, Mama Kike arrived with Dammy, sleep-ruffled and confused. "Mummy, why are we at Auntie's house?" "Daddy said we have visitors." "We're taking a small break," I said, pulling him close. He smelled like Milo and sunshine. "You'll go to school. I'll pick you. Everything else is adult business." He searched my face. "Are you sad?" I kissed his forehead. "I'm strong." After they left for school, the lawyer, Mr. Adebayo, arrived in a gray suit that had seen too many courts and too few breaks. He listened without interrupting, his pen moving in steady strokes. "We need to secure your finances," he said. "Do you and Tund share accounts?" "2 joint accounts," I said, my voice tightening. "He handles the rent for our Lekki duplex. My bakery account is separate." "Good. We'll file for a protective order, not against physical violence alone, but to stop financial sabotage. Also, a formal separation agreement, temporary custody, support, access to the home. I swallowed. Can we block him from moving the mistress into the house? He tilted his head. A court can restrain acts of provocation during proceedings. It's not guaranteed. But public pressure matters in Lagos. Men worry about reputation even when they pretend they don't. He slid papers across Onika's dining table. We'll also gather evidence, timestamps from the hospital, the Instagram Live, messages. Domestic betrayal feels personal, but courts like documents. I nodded, set my signature where he pointed, and felt the faintest bloom of control return. That evening, I drove to pick Dammy, hands tight on the wheel. The sky glowed bruise-purple over 3rd Mainland Bridge, water chopped below like a restless heart. At the school gate, Tund waited in his car, engine idling. He stepped out when he saw me. "We can do this without drama," he said. "Then stop providing it," I replied. He spread his hands. "You love performance. Posting 'Pray for my son'? Now press is calling me. Infidelity in marriage, public disgrace, they love those words." "It wasn't performance," I said evenly. "It was a boundary." He glanced toward the school. "Dammy belongs with stability." "He belongs with truth," I said. "We'll let the court decide." He exhaled, laugh clipped. "You think a judge will punish me for dancing at a party? For choosing it while your wife lay in emergency?" "Yes," I said. "And for telling the estate Beezy would move in tomorrow?" "Also yes." He stepped closer, voice low. "Beezy is pregnant." The world narrowed to a pinpoint. "What?" "She told me last week." He watched my face. "I am becoming a father again." I felt something cold settle into place. "Then you'll need your money. Courts aren't cheap." He flinched. "You've changed. You gave me a reason." The bell rang. Dammy ran out, backpack bouncing. He saw us and slowed, eyes flicking between our faces. Tund pasted on a smile. "Dammy. My guy." "Hi, Daddy," he said cautiously. "We'll take turns this week," I said. "I'll send the schedule." Tund's jaw worked. "We'll see." We held our son's hands, 2 anchors pulling in opposite directions, as Lagos traffic surged and honked. I felt the weight of the city, of women like me, of the quiet watchers behind their screens. Revenge didn't taste sweet. It tasted like urgency, like papers served at dawn, like counting every naira. That night, as Dammy watched cartoons at Onika's, my phone lit with a message from an unknown number. "If you want to know what Tund promised me, meet me at Eco Hotel lobby at noon. Come alone." Attached was a selfie. Beezy, without makeup, eyes tired, scarf loose over her braids. Onika read over my shoulder. "Trap. Or leverage," I said. My heart pounded. Either way, it's a turning point. At 11:58 a.m. the next day, I walked into the Eco Hotel lobby, where polished marble reflected women in heels and men talking fast. I sat in a corner, my palms damp. Beezy slid into the seat across from me, sunglasses on. "He told you I'm pregnant?" "Yes." She lifted the shades, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. "Then you should know. It might not be his." Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below. "You're playing games," I said, keeping my voice low. "Why tell me this?" Beezy's hand trembled as she reached for her water. "Because Tund promised me more than a baby announcement and a furnished room in Lekki. He promised equity in his company, 10%, and a car in my name. Now that he's trending for cheating, he's pulling back. He says the scandal is expensive." "This is a revenge story you joined willingly," I replied, the taste of old anger rising. "You crashed my marriage and called yourself a queen on a rooftop." "I called myself safe," she said, voice cracking. "You think I don't read the comments?" They don't know what he says when cameras are off. If Yananya is soft, she won't fight. She's an old model. He said Lagos will always forgive a man. Co-parenting conflict is her problem, not mine. The words sliced, clean and efficient. I sat still. The lobby hummed around us, wedding guests swishing by in gold oso abi, a businessman taking a loud call, a little girl dragging a glitter suitcase. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "A deal," she said. "If you ruin him legally, I ruin him publicly. We both win." I studied her. "Why wouldn't I ruin you too?" She smiled without humor. "Because I'm holding something you need." She slid a phone across the table. A video loaded, tunned on the rooftop, leaning close to Beezy, words mushy with champagne. "Read it again," he said, pointing at a contract draft on his phone. 10% equity, backdated. If regulators ask questions about that government tender, you'll say you consulted on the community outreach. It's legal-ish. And when the deal hits, we travel. Dubai first. He kissed her cheek. "If Yananya will adjust." My stomach turned. Government tender. Community outreach. Legal-ish. Keywords that meant trouble for a man whose clients prided themselves on compliance. Public disgrace was bad. Procurement whispers could end careers. Beezy ended the video. That's part 1. Part 2 is him telling his friend that if you fight for the house, he'll make the court feel her temper. He wants to paint you volatile. I slid the phone back. "Email those to my lawyer." "Send me your email," she said. "But I want protection. You make sure no one doxes me. Lagos can be cruel." "Done," I said. "But if this is a trap." "It's not," she said. "I'm late for a scan." She stood, and for a moment, we were two women in a lobby, not enemies but consequences. That afternoon, Mr. Adebayo watched the videos 3 times, expression unreadable. "This is leverage," he said finally. "We file a motion for temporary injunction to maintain the status quo. No moving new partners into the marital home, no asset transfers, no pressure on the child. We attach a sealed affidavit about potential procurement impropriety." "Will the court care?" I asked. "Courts are human," he said. "They care about headlines and harm." And he was careless enough to outline a scheme on camera. By evening, the petition was filed. Court date, 1 week. My heart beat in my throat and in my wrists. Lagos moved fast. So would we. At bedtime, Dammy asked, "Are you and Daddy fighting?" "We're figuring grown-up things," I said, tucking in his sheets. "No matter what, we both love you." He frowned. "Is Beezy nice?" I chose my words carefully. Sometimes grown-ups make choices that hurt other people. That doesn't make them safe to live with. As I closed his door, my phone buzzed again, this time from an unknown caller ID labeled press. A woman's voice. "This is Zara from City Lens. We're doing a feature on infidelity in marriage and public disgrace. Would you like to share your side?" "Not tonight," I said, throat tight. "Maybe after the hearing." She paused. "He's agreed to speak tomorrow." Of course he had. Control was his favorite outfit. The next day, Tun sat on a morning show set under soft lights and said the words men like him always said, "We grew apart." "She's a good mother. Please respect our privacy." He called Beezy a friend, and me unstable lately. When the clip hit social media, my phone shook with rage from aunties and allies. But underneath the anger ran something cleaner, resolve. In the afternoon, the school called. "Mrs. Adebayo, your husband attempted to pick Dammy outside his allotted time. He argued with our guard." The administrator hesitated. "We may have to restrict his access to the compound if this continues." Fear prickled. Co-parenting conflict had moved from papers to gates. I called Mr. Adebayo, who promised to send the school the temporary schedule. At dusk, a delivery van pulled up outside Onika's flat. The driver carried a bouquet the size of a small tree and a note, "For my wife, to heal and to talk. Tund. Onika folded the card and used it as a coaster under a sweating glass of Zobo. I started to laugh, then to cry. I hate that he knows how to make grand gestures. Women like us built those gestures with our labor, she said. He just pays the florist. Nights in Lagos can feel like hot rooms that never cool. I lay awake listening to motorcycles and the far-off thud of music. Around midnight, my WhatsApp pinged with a message from an unknown number, a blurry photo of Dami's classroom door. The caption, "He should be with his father, not with a bitter woman in Yaba." Heat flashed through me. I typed, "Who is this?" 3 dots. Then, "You'll know soon." I woke Onika. We called the school security head, who promised an extra guard by Dami's class. At 7:30 a.m., as we approached the school, 2 police Hilux trucks idled at the gate. Blue uniforms clustered, walkie-talkies crackling. Parents whispered in small knots. A principal with a tight scarf and tighter smile approached me. "Mrs. Adedayo," she said, "there's been a complaint about you." "From whom?" I asked. She glanced over my shoulder. I turned. Beezy stood by the gate in a pale yellow dress, sunglasses hiding her eyes, one hand on her stomach. Tund beside her, face set, flanked by 2 officers. "We're reporting a threat," he said to the principal, loud enough for the crowd. "She sent men to follow our son." Gasps rippled. Phones rose. Lagos loved a scene. I inhaled slowly, every muscle asking to run or to fight. "That," I said softly, "is a lie." The senior officer stepped forward. "Everyone calm down. We'll sort this out at the station." Onika squeezed my arm. "We go together," she whispered. I looked at Dami's classroom window, where small fingers pressed the glass. I looked at the cameras catching my profile, the captions being written in real time. Public disgrace at the school gate. The heat moment was here again, a circle tightening. "Officer," I said, meeting his eyes, "then let's go. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. Comment your thoughts on the betrayal." The police station smelled of dust, sweat, and stationery, a scent Lagos never quite replaced, no matter how many renovations were done. A tired fan wobbled overhead, stirring files in slow gusts. We sat on a wooden bench while an officer with a precise mustache took statements. Tund spoke first, confident as a politician. "My wife is agitated. She collapsed last week. She's unstable. She sent men to intimidate my son's teacher." "I sent no one," I said. "But someone sent me a photo of my son's classroom last night. From an unknown number." The officer scribbled. "Do you have the number?" I showed him. He nodded and flagged a younger officer. "Find the owner." Beezy dabbed at her nose with a tissue, the portrait of soft concern. "We only want peace. This co-parenting conflict is not healthy." I turned to her. "Then stop showing up with police at school. You are not his parent." She flinched, then composed herself, hands smoothing her dress. "He will be my child's sibling." "Your child," I said, "may not be his." Silence cracked over the room like harmattan. Tund whipped toward her. "What?" Beezy's lips parted, shocked I'd said it out loud. "You promised." "I promised nothing," I cut in. "You promised me a video, and you delivered." "Thank you." The officer's eyebrow lifted. "What video?" Mr. Adebayo, who had arrived with a calm like heavy rain, slid his phone across the desk. "Evidence of potential financial impropriety," he said. "It's relevant to the custody environment. We are in court next week." The officer watched enough to pale. "This is beyond school pickup," he said, voice suddenly formal. "You should all leave. No one is arrested today. Keep to your temporary schedule." He looked at Tund. "No more scenes at the gate." We stepped into the sun. The brightness shocked me after the dim station. Parents on the street pretended not to stare. Tund's voice was low and dangerous. "You think you can ruin me with a party video?" I think you can ruin yourself with a contract promise recorded on a rooftop, I said. I'm simply pressing play. He took a step toward me, then stopped when he noticed phones aimed like arrows. He pivoted, plastered on a smile, and opened Beezy's car door. Let's go. We returned to Onika's flat and shut the world out. Dammy came home full of questions, the kind only a child can ask, blunt and bright. We softened answers and wrapped him in routine: homework, cartoons, jollof rice, bedtime story. Familiarity tasted like survival. After he slept, I spread bank statements across the table. Onika brewed tea. We circled numbers with a red pen. Look, I said, my heart tapping fast. Transfers to a company I don't recognize, KM Outreach Ltd., every month for 6 months. And look at the memo lines: community liaison. That's the tender Beezy mentioned. Onika leaned in. You think it's a shell? I think it's the rope he'll trip over. We didn't sleep much that week. Lagos felt like it was watching, and maybe it was, 1,000 eyes behind screens, 1,000 mouths tasting the drama. The day of the hearing arrived with rain that turned the courthouse steps slick. We climbed carefully. Inside, the courtroom hummed with the small sounds of waiting: coughs, murmurs, the shuffle of papers. The judge entered, a woman with eyes that had seen every version of love and its wreckage. We stood, we sat, we breathed. Mr. Adebayo presented our petition: restraining orders to stabilize the child's environment, injunctions to prevent asset transfer, acknowledgement that introducing a new partner into the home during proceedings constituted provocation. He mentioned, delicately, the rooftop video and the procurement whispers. Tun's lawyer pushed back with smooth phrases: marital differences, privacy, no evidence of harm. When he implied I was orchestrating public disgrace for sympathy, the judge tilted her head. The public seems to have orchestrated itself, she said dryly. Counsel, focus. An hour later, the judge delivered interim orders. Dammy's schedule fixed and filed. Neither party to bring unrelated adults into the marital home. No asset transfer without court notice. Both parties to refrain from media commentary that could harm the child. A small victory that felt like breath after drowning. Outside, the rain had stopped. Lagos smelled washed, earth and diesel and something like hope. We walked down the steps, and for the first time in days, my shoulders lowered. Careful, Onika said, linking our arms. Ropes look like lifelines until you tug. Her phone buzzed. She frowned at the screen, then went pale. Ifyananya, look. She handed me the phone. A headline screamed from a blog notorious for drama but often ahead of the news. Exclusive: Tund Adebayo's company under scrutiny over tender fraud, Mistress allegedly involved. My breath left me. The article included blurry screenshots of a contract draft. It referenced KM Outreach Limited. It quoted a source close to the situation. I looked up at Onika, rain dripping from the courthouse eaves like a metronome counting down. I didn't leak it, I said. Neither did I, she replied, voice small. My phone buzzed with a message from Beezy. I warned him to be kind. He laughed. Now I'm being kind to myself. Before I could reply, another message popped up, this one from a number labeled unknown. Withdraw your petition or we leak your bakery's health inspection photos. I stared at the text, the courthouse, the city, the line we were walking that kept getting thinner. They're coming for my work, I whispered. Onika squeezed my hand. Then we fight with more than paper. That night, I changed the locks on my bakery, called the health inspector for an immediate recheck, and posted a video tour of our spotless kitchen. If you want drama, watch Nollywood, I wrote. If you want vanilla sponge with real butter, come to Suralere. My voice shook, but my smile didn't. At 11:22 p.m., the bakery security camera pinged. A figure in a hoodie tried the back door, then the window. I called the police and watched the live feed, heart hammering. The figure looked up once, and for a split second, the face tilted to the camera. It was Tun's younger brother, Say. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below. The officers arrived 10 minutes later, siren low, lights off, like a secret. I met them at the bakery gate, breath misting in the cooler night air. "He ran," I said, pointing to the alley. But the camera caught him. One officer studied the footage on my phone. "We know this one," he said. "He's been in fights at clubs. If he returns, call us immediately." At dawn, I walked the bakery floor with my staff, brave faces wrapped over worry. "We won't let domestic betrayal contaminate our kitchen," I told them. "People will try to drag us into the mud. We will bake through it." We whipped frosting and weighed flour. I piped borders while my hands remembered peace, muscle memory steadying my heart. Customers came, some out of loyalty, some out of curiosity fueled by the scandal, and we sold out by noon. In the afternoon, Mr. Adebayo called. The blog story grew legs. A regulatory agency has requested documents from Tun's company. They're rattled. "Good," I said, with a satisfaction that didn't feel sweet. "What about Sei?" "The police noted the report," he said. "But your stronger move is civil, a letter warning against trespass and intimidation. Quiet, on paper, enforceable." "Send it," I said. "And copy his mother." He chuckled softly. "A truly Nigerian enforcement mechanism." The letter went out. That evening, Sei called from a hidden number, voice full of heat. "You embarrassed me in front of my friends. You think you're a big woman now because Lagos is watching." "I think I'm a mother protecting her child," I said, tone flat. "Stay away from my bakery, my home, and my life." "You think Tund will forgive you? He has options. You're just—" I ended the call. Some words didn't deserve the air. At home, Dammy completed a drawing assignment. Our family, 3 stick figures and a smaller one, all holding hands. He colored my dress yellow, his favorite shade. "This is us," he said, "at the beach. Soon," I promised. "We'll go when the waves are calm." That night, I received an email from a client, a corporate order canceled, due to brand sensitivity. Revenge is expensive, I thought. The fallout of a cheating spouse was more than tears. It was invoices and schedules and the quiet stocktaking of damage. I opened my laptop and began a new kind of outreach, to churches, community centers, women's groups. "We supply cakes for your events. We offer discounts for widows' meetings and school fundraisers." I wasn't begging. I was rebuilding differently. 2 days later, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find a woman around 50 in a faded wrapper and a scarf that had seen many wash days. Her eyes were bright and suspicious. She introduced herself as Mama Beezy. "Are you here to insult me?" I asked. My body tensed for impact. She shook her head. "I raised my daughter to be strong, not to be foolish. She is both now." She looked at me for a long moment. "I came to say I told her to apologize to you." She refused. She sighed. "So I am apologizing myself. It was unexpected, and it thawed something." "Thank you," I said. "This wasn't only her doing." She nodded, lip curling with a different kind of anger. "Men start fires and send women to fetch water." She shifted her bag and handed me a small plastic folder. She asked me to keep this. I am returning it to its rightful place. Inside lay photocopies, KM Outreach Ltd's CAC registration, a list of directors, and a bank statement that showed transfers in larger amounts than mine revealed. 2 names jumped out, Tund and Sei, as consultants. My pulse leaped. Evidence was starting to look like a pile rather than a whisper. "Why give me this?" I asked. "Because he told her to abort," she said simply. "Because when she cried, he said it wasn't his problem." She lifted her chin. "Because I know a bad man when I see one." After she left, Onyeka and I scanned the documents and sent them to Mr. Adebayo. He called within the hour. "This is the rope," he said. "We pull." The next morning, the regulator's letter arrived at Tun's office. That evening, his car idled outside Onyeka's building. He leaned against it in a white shirt, sleeves rolled, looking like an apology wrapped in cologne. "Let's talk," he said when I approached. I stayed on the curb. We are talking. His voice softened. I know I failed you. I panicked. I wanted something lively, something. You wanted applause, I said. The rooftop gave you that. It will not give you custody. He swallowed. We can end this. I'll sell the house, split the proceeds, give you a larger share. And the equity promises? The shell company? The procurement lies? His jaw tightened. I built this life. You piped cakes. The words landed like a slap. I let them sit between us, heavy. Then I said, our son will read the transcript of this one day. Choose your lines carefully. He looked away first. He opened the car, pulled out a small box, and handed it to me. Inside, my wedding ring lay on black velvet, a circle that no longer fit. I want it off your hand, he said, so people stop asking questions. I snapped the box shut. People will keep asking until you answer. He reached for my arm. I stepped back, and a neighbor's porch light clicked on, washing us in yellow. Tun's hand hung in the air, a gesture captured like a photo with too much truth. Go home, I said. Alone. He did. But the next day, a letter arrived at my bakery from his lawyer. Cease and desist from defamation. Refrain from interfering with business relationships. The irony made me laugh, but the threat underneath didn't. I forwarded it to Mr. Adebayo, who replied with a single line, "We'll answer in court." That evening, as I closed the bakery, my phone buzzed with a message from a number labeled Private Investigator. We found KM Outreach's physical office. It's a single room above a video game shop in Yaba. Want photos? Yes, I typed, fingers steady. Send everything. The photos arrived. One showed a cracked signboard, the letters peeling. Another showed a desk with 2 plastic chairs, a dusty fan, and a calendar 3 months behind. The company, moving millions, looked like a place you'd buy cheap airtime. I sent the images to Mr. Adebayo and to myself. I printed one and pinned it above my desk, not as a trophy but as a reminder. Emotional manipulation ends where facts begin. At midnight, my phone vibrated with a video call request. The name flashed, Beezy. Against better judgment, I answered. Her face filled the screen, tearful, hair covered, voice shivering. He knows I gave you the documents, she whispered. He's furious. He said I ruined him. What do you need? I asked, throat tight. Somewhere to sleep for a night, she said. He locked me out. Every instinct screamed no. Another screamed woman to woman. Come, I said. But understand, this doesn't make us friends. She nodded. I understand. At 1:07 a.m., a car stopped 2 houses away. Beezy slipped out with a backpack, shadows hugging her. I opened the door, and as she stepped inside, headlights washed across the compound wall. Another car idled. The engine didn't go off. Onika's voice floated from the hallway, low and fearful. Ifyananya, someone's watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below. We didn't sleep. Every sound became a threat, a lizard skittering on the wall, the fridge kicking on, a bike's muffler coughing. At 3:14 a.m., the car finally left. Beezy sat on Onika's sofa, knees pulled to her chest, eyes red. She clutched her backpack like a life jacket. I was foolish, she said into the dim. He told me I was the future. He told me older wives breed bitterness, not babies. Older wives build houses that keep men dry in the rainy season, Onika muttered from the doorway, arms folded. Beezy nodded, chastened. I'll leave Lagos tomorrow. My aunt in Abeokuta will take me in. I won't testify unless the court compels me. I can't be the city's villain anymore. I thought of the rooftop, the MC shout, the glittering cake. I thought of the silent 2 a.m. where a woman begged a woman for safe sleep. I won't weaponize you, I said. I'll use documents, not your tears. At dawn, I took Dammy to school. The principal met me at the gate, expression kind. The schedule helped, she said. No scenes today. On the way back, my phone rang. Mr. Adebayo's voice crackled with energy. The regulator moved faster than I expected. They're calling Tun's company for a hearing on the tender. They want to see everything: proposals, outreach records, consultant names. I exhaled slowly. KM Outreach. And more, he said. Also, the judge scheduled a case conference for next Tuesday. Come steady. That night, after I put Dammy to bed, I sat at Onika's table with a notebook and wrote 3 lists: what I can control, what I can't, what I refuse to accept. Under control, I wrote, my bakery, my son's schedule, my voice, my evidence. Under can't, I wrote, blogs, gossip, Tun's choices. Under refuse, I wrote, fear as default. At 10 p.m., a message arrived from an old friend, Karen, who worked in HR at a multinational that had hired Tun's firm. We're reviewing vendors. Off the record, his file is shaky. Friends, I thought, were the bridges you didn't know you built until a river rose. The weekend crawled and sprinted at once. We went to church in Yaba, where aunties hugged me too long and ushers pretended not to stare. The pastor preached about resilience and forgiveness. I sang the hymns and let the words wash over scar tissue. On Monday, I dropped cakes at a small wedding in Suralere. Sweetness felt like defiance. When I returned to Onika's, Beezy's backpack was gone and a note sat under a cup. Thank you for the couch. I will face my mistakes somewhere quieter. Beezy. I folded the paper, slipped it into a drawer, and felt lighter. Tuesday came like a gavel. In the judge's chambers, we sat around a table. Me, Tund, our lawyers, a family counselor the court insisted attend. The judge spoke plainly. This is not Nollywood. This is a child's life. Speak human. Tund started. I regret the timing of the party. The timing. I repeated, laughter sharp. Not the party itself. His lawyer squeezed his arm. He cleared his throat. I regret the hurt. We discussed schedules, school fees, Dammy's asthma appointments. Small, practical things that build a child's world. I agreed to an extra day for Tund after he offered to attend parenting counseling. The counselor nodded approval. Progress isn't drama, I thought. It's chairs pulled closer to a table. Then the judge turned to finances. Mr. Adebayo, we have concerns about asset transfers. Tund's lawyer handed over a spreadsheet and a stack of bank statements. The judge scanned them. Explain KM Outreach. A subcontractor, Tund said smoothly. They manage community events. Standard practice. The judge's gaze lifted. The office is a room above a video game shop. Tund blinked. Next, the judge said. Provisional support for the child and residence for Mrs. Adebayo. We left with more orders in my favor. Outside, the air felt different around Tund, thinner, like altitude he wasn't used to. He walked faster than usual, head down. Reporters waited beyond the gate, hungry. He kept his eyes straight and plunged into his car. That evening, I received a direct message from a handle I didn't recognize at numbers Dante Lie. It contained a PDF, an analysis of Tund's company's publicly available contracts versus deliverables, with red circles wherever community outreach didn't match reality. I forwarded it to Mr. Adebayo. He replied one word, gold. The next day, a video trended, a procurement official, sweating into a handkerchief, dodging questions outside a government building. In the background, someone shouted, "Return our money." The keywords public disgrace and cheating spouse began to share space with tender fraud and accountability. Two storms had met and were feeding each other. That night, as I locked the bakery, my phone rang. A voice I hadn't heard in years broke through, the voice of Tund's mother, Mama Teo. "Ifyananya," she said, voice rough. "Forgive my son. For the family name." "I'll forgive him when he forgives accountability," I said softly. "I won't cover sin with Ankara." She exhaled. You always had words. I have only prayers. Pray for your grandson, I replied. She paused. He is why I called. They may arrest Tund. He wants to travel to Abuja. Maybe out of the country. I closed my eyes. If he runs, he runs. Stop him, she pleaded. You can. I can't, I said. But I can prepare our son. After we ended the call, I stood in the bakery's dark, breathing sugar and quiet. Somewhere in the city, Afrobeats jumped, parties pulsed, people laughed under fairy lights. But in the spaces that mattered, courts, kitchens, classrooms, people also told the truth. At 1:02 a.m., my phone buzzed again. A message from Karen, internal memo, Tund's contract suspended pending investigation. I exhaled a prayer that was not for him but for relief. Then another ping, an airline itinerary screenshot forwarded by a mutual friend. Tund, Los, ACC, LHR. He was booked to leave Lagos through Accra tomorrow night. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. Share this with someone who loves drama. I didn't sleep. The fan traced circles above me like a judge's pen. At 6 a.m., I brewed coffee strong enough to stand up and told Onika everything. He's running, I said. Accra tonight. Then London. We tell the regulator, she said. We tell your lawyer. And we tell his mother. Let her own the plea. By 9 a.m., Mr. Adebayo had filed a notice with the regulatory agency and a motion with the court requesting a temporary travel restriction pending investigation. He warned me not to expect miracles. Courts move slow, he said. Airlines move on time. I nodded. Then we move differently. At noon, I went to Dami's school for his class presentation on family heritage. He wore a small dashiki and spoke about his grandfather who was a tailor in Ibadan. He didn't mention a rooftop or police at the gate. Kids are better editors than adults. After school, I took him to Bar Beach. We walked where the Atlantic gnawed at the shore and Lagos rose behind us in glass and steel. He collected shells that were really bottle caps and asked why the water looked angry. Because it carries many stories, I said. He placed a shell in my palm. Keep this. For courage. At dusk, the regulator called. Thank you for your submission, the official said. We've notified immigration. We can't guarantee a stop, but we've marked him. Thank you, I said, heart skidding between hope and dread. At 8 p.m., my phone lit with messages from friends in different corners of the city. Someone saw Tund at Murtala Muhammad, then not. Someone heard he went by road to Semeh. Someone else swore he was at a private lounge in Ikeja. Lagos loved a rumor as much as a truth. At 9:41 p.m., Karen texted a photo from Kotoka International Airport in Accra. Tund, cap pulled low, standing near a gate. He's here. Boarding soon. I forwarded the image to Mr. Adebayo and to the regulator contact. Then I called Tund's mother. He's flying tonight, I said. She sucked in a breath. Where? Accra to London. I will call him, she said. I will curse him with a mother's curse if he runs from his child. I hung up and paced Onika's small sitting room until my feet found grooves. The clock ticked. The wall lizard watched me with unblinking eyes. The city hummed. Sometimes revenge wasn't dramatic. It was waiting with a phone in your hand, willing the world to choose consequence. At 10:17 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. A crisp voice. This is immigration at Kotoka. We've received a notice. We're holding Mr. Adebayo for questioning. He is not detained, yet. Do you want to speak to him? I closed my eyes. No. Let the process speak. After we ended the call, my phone buzzed again. A video from an airport lounge leaked to social media. 2 officers speaking to a man whose face was half hidden by a cap. Comments clawed at the screen. He thought he could escape. Public disgrace in foreign airport. Chai. At midnight, I sat with Onika on the balcony, Lagos laid out like a quilt of lights and shadow. The air smelled of diesel and salt and someone grilling suya nearby. I chewed a piece, the pepper burning my tongue into presence. I thought of the small boy sleeping in the room behind me, whose father was possibly being questioned in another country about another kind of betrayal. I thought of the women who had messaged me privately, telling me about men who had chosen parties over them at hospitals, markets, funerals. I thought of the bakery, steady as a heartbeat. My phone buzzed one more time. A message from Tund, clipped and raw. You did this. You're destroying me. I typed back, no. You did this when you chose a mistress's party over your wife in the ER. I'm just telling the truth. He didn't reply. The next morning, an official email, Tund's passport flagged, travel deferred pending inquiry. Not a full stop, but a roadblock. At noon, the procurement regulator scheduled a formal hearing. The subject line sang to me, attendance mandatory. The attached list of requested documents was long, and KM Outreach appeared on half the lines. That afternoon, I delivered cupcakes to a small birthday at a community center in Mushin. A grandmother in a gold ghillie pressed my hands and said, "We're proud of your strength. Our daughters are watching." On the way home, I stopped at a traffic light in Yaba and saw a poster on a wall. Men for Accountability. A small group of men stood under it, talking. Hope, I thought, sometimes wears unlikely outfits. That evening, as the sun melted into the lagoon, my phone buzzed with a different kind of message. A screenshot of a bank alert. Temporary hold placed on account. Adideo Consulting. The regulator had teeth. I forwarded it to Onika with a single word. Begin. She replied with a voice note I'd saved for years, her laughter bright and fierce. Begin, my sister. Begin. At 2 a.m., a car screeched outside Onika's building. A fist pounded the gate. A voice shouted my name, drunken and mean. I looked through the curtain and saw Sei, shirt untucked, eyes wild. "I will show you Pepper," he slurred. "I will." A second car turned into the street. Headlights cut across his face. Doors opened. Boots hit the ground. The regulator's enforcement team stepped out with police escorts. They didn't come for Sei. They came for Tund. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below. They served the notice at Onika's gate under the indifferent gaze of a neighborhood cat. Tund, behind the wheel of a borrowed car, how he returned from across so fast, I didn't know. Stepped out in rumpled jeans, eyes bloodshot, defiance clinging to him like cologne past midnight. "We are here for a document seizure," the lead officer said calmly, reading from a paper that suddenly seemed heavier than any threats Tund had thrown. "This is pursuant to the ongoing investigation into procurement irregularities involving KM Outreach Ltd. and associated parties." Tund laughed, the sound brittle. "At 2 in the morning? Corruption keeps late hours," the officer replied. Sei edged toward the darkness, muttering. Two officers redirected him back into the light. "I have rights," Tund snapped. "And responsibilities," the officer said. Onika and I watched from behind the curtain. I felt no triumph, only a deep settling in my bones, like a floor finally level after living on a tilt. They asked Tund to hand over laptops, phones, and paper files. He refused. They presented a court order. He complied badly. The scene wasn't cinematic. It was small and human and humiliating. At dawn, the convoy pulled away with boxes and devices. The street exhaled. Birds dared a few notes. The cat returned to its post. I brewed tea. Onika sat heavily, exhaustion tracing her face. "He'll say you did this." "He already did," I said, stirring. "But I'm not that powerful. Only the truth is." By mid-morning, the hearing notice spread through industry WhatsApp groups. Vendors sent me quiet messages of support. A few asked for my baker's discount on the side. Women dropped by the bakery with small orders and big hugs. The day felt like balm over a burn. That evening, I attended a women's business roundtable in Acadia I'd nearly canceled. The room smelled of perfume and ambition. We sat in a circle and spoke about contracts, tax, and the art of saying no. When the moderator asked about crisis management, I told my story without naming names. Heads nodded. A few eyes brimmed. After, a woman approached me. "I'm a forensic accountant," she said, handing me a card. "If you need someone to map money, I'm your girl." I took the card like a talisman. "I need you." She smiled. "Then you have me." At home, Dammy and I played Ludo on the floor. He won twice and danced like a champion. I looked at him laughing and felt a pang, a wish that his father had chosen hospital corridors over rooftop speeches. "Can Daddy come to my game on Saturday?" he asked. I hesitated. "We'll see what the schedule says." He nodded, satisfied with structure. Kids love calendars. They make the world predictable. That night, as I folded laundry, my phone rang. A number I recognized from years ago, the dean's office at a culinary institute in Johannesburg where I'd once dreamed of doing a certificate before life rerouted me. The woman on the line said, "We have a scholarship for experienced bakers expanding community training. A friend nominated you. Would you consider applying? It includes a small grant to teach low-income women." For a moment, the world flashed to color. "Yes," I said, throat tight. "Yes, I would." After midnight, I sat on the balcony again, Legos humming like a distant drum. My life felt like a city after rain. Streets still wet, debris at the gutters, but air you wanted to breathe. My phone buzzed. A message from Tund: "We need to talk outside court." I typed back, "Email my lawyer." He typed, "Our son deserves us speaking like humans." I stared at the city, at the thin line where the lagoon met the night. Maybe he was right on that one point. Dammy deserved adults who didn't turn him into a trophy or a threat. The next day, we met at a cafe in Lekki for 1 hour, a clock on the wall counting for us. We spoke like people who had once held a dream together and now held its ashes. We agreed on a Saturday schedule for the game. He asked me if I would go soft on the regulator. "No," I said. "But I won't go dirty." He nodded. "Fair." As I stood to leave, he said, "Do you ever miss us?" I thought of the hospital beeps under fluorescent lights, of a rooftop slice of cake, of a child watching the gate through glass. "I miss who I thought we were," I said. "I don't miss who we became." Outside, Lagos glittered. A woman sold roasted corn by the road. A man hawked phone chargers through car windows. Life insisted. On Friday night, I packed snacks for Dammy's game. On Saturday morning, we drove to the school field. The air smelled like grass and possibility. Parents clustered with flasks and folding chairs. I scanned faces. Tund stood at the edge, hands in pockets, alone. He lifted a hand in a small wave. I nodded, neutral. Dammy ran and scored early. He turned to the stands and searched. His father cheered, face bright. My chest loosened. At halftime, an official in a suit I recognized approached Tund, regulator, not school. He spoke quietly. Tund's shoulders sagged by degrees, as if a weight he'd been holding finally refused to be held. He walked toward me, eyes red. "They have enough to charge," he said. "They're offering me a deal if I cooperate." "With whom?" I asked softly. "With everyone," he said. He looked toward the field where our son laughed with teammates, shirt stuck to his back with sweat and joy. I should be worrying about his math homework, not lawyers. "You still can," I said. "But not by running." He nodded, then looked at me like a man on a roof finally seeing the ground. "I'm sorry," he said, voice thin. "Not the PR kind. The kind that comes too late." Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A message from the forensic accountant. "We've traced funds from KM Outreach to a personal account in Beezy's name, and to say. Also, a transfer to a politician's aide. You'll want to see this." I swallowed. "The story isn't done," I said. He followed my gaze to the field, where Dammy lined up for the second half, face serious, feet bouncing. "I hope," he whispered, "that the worst parts are." Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below. The forensic accountant, Adiz, spread printouts across Onika's dining table like a general arranging a battle map. "This is where the money walked," she said, tapping lines with a pencil. "From the tender, to Adadeo Consulting, to KM Outreach, to 3 paths. Beezy's account, Say's gambling debt, and an AIDS consulting fee." "Can we prove intent?" Mr. Adebayo asked. Adiz smiled. "We can prove pattern. And judges love patterns." We prepared exhibits for the regulator's hearing. Timelines, bank slips, screenshots, every thread woven tight. I slept like a woman who had work to do and a team to do it with. On the day of the hearing, the room looked like every government room. Neutral walls, weak air conditioning, chairs that made you sit up too straight. A panel of officials sat at a long table. Tun sat at one end, jaw clenched, suit expensive and ill-fitting under such light. I sat at the other, steady. Beezy did not appear. Say lurked in a back row like a cautionary tale. The lead official spoke. "We are not here for your marriage," he said. "We are here for the public's money." Adiz walked them through the flow. Mr. Adebayo explained how community outreach was a shell game without a shell. Tun's lawyer tried to object on half the slides. The panel waved him down for the other half. When the aide's name appeared on a transfer slip, a murmur slid through the room like a low tide. The official rapped his knuckles once. "Names have gravity," he said. "We will not say them lightly." Tun's turn came. He stood, hands flat on the table, and for the first time, he didn't reach for his performance voice. "I did wrong," he said. "Not only in my home. In my work. I thought I could decorate lies with charity. I cannot." Silence held us all for a breath. The panel recessed for an hour. We waited in a hallway that smelled of old paint and new fear. People avoided my eyes or met them with deliberate kindness. A cleaner pushed a mop with the slow patience of someone who understood that messes are inevitable and clean floors are a kind of prayer. When the panel returned, their verdict wasn't a final judgment but a heavy step toward one. Account holds extended, referral to the Anti-Graft Commission, temporary ban from bidding for new tenders. The room exhaled. Outside, reporters swarmed. Microphones flowered like jacaranda petals in harmattan. I spoke carefully. "This is about accountability and a child's stability. It's not about revenge. It's about rebuilding rules where they were broken." As we left, my phone buzzed. A message from a number labeled AIDS office. "Careful what you say next. We have friends too." I swallowed and slid the phone back into my bag. The next move mattered. At home, I found Dammy practicing a school poem about the moon. His voice rose and fell on the line, "Even when you change, I know you." I kissed his head and promised pizza. Later that night, I sat with Onika and Adiz on the balcony, Lagos winking like a mischievous friend. "This is a turning point," Adiz said. "Now you choose, civil settlement and gentle co-parenting, or a public trial that might burn longer than you want." I stared at the city. I thought of women who messaged me at midnight. I thought of Dammy's drawing of us at the beach. I thought of my bakery's steady hum. "My son's peace is the North Star," I said. "I'll take hard accountability with soft edges." The next morning, Tund called. "I want to settle," he said. "No lies, no TV statements. Real numbers. You keep the house, I pay support, we sell the second car, I sign an apology about the school incident, I attend counseling." "And Beezy?" I asked. "Gone," he said. "To Abeokuta. Her mother told me things." He paused. "DNA will decide what it decides." "And Say?" "On his own," he said quietly. "He burned my last bridge." We met with lawyers in a small conference room with bad art and good coffee. We haggled like Nigerians born under markets. In the end, the settlement looked like safety. House deed in my name, business loan forgiveness, documented co-parenting plan, a clause that if new partners were introduced, it would be only after counseling and with Dammy's therapist's input. The regulator would continue its case. The Anti-Graft Commission would do what it did. Our part would be calmer. As pens hovered, Tun said, "I want one thing that isn't in ink." What? Forgiveness, he said, voice thin. I looked at the man across from me. The one who danced on rooftop stages and whispered harmful promises. The one who stood at school gates with police and sent flowers like bribes. The one who, right now, looked like a boy trying to apologize to a teacher for a broken window. I forgive the part of you that was human, I said. I do not forgive the part of you that was cruel. That part can answer to the law. He swallowed and nodded. We signed. That evening, a soft rain fell, tapping the city back into itself. I took Dammy to get ice cream. We chose flavors and sat on the curb, legs swinging, joy simple and loud. At 8:03 p.m., while washing dishes at Onika's, my phone rang. Mama Teo. Thank you, she said, for not destroying him completely. I never could, I said. He did his own breaking. She cleared her throat. Our family owes you respect for the child. We will show it. The next day, a letter arrived from the Culinary Institute in Johannesburg. Scholarship awarded. Start date, 3 months from now. Grant included for community training. I cried into my tea, then told Dammy we'd spend a month near lions. He roared and asked if lions like cupcakes. On Saturday, as we packed for a small beach picnic, my phone chimed with a new message from at numbers Donti Lai. A graph showing another set of transfers from a different shell company linked to another vendor. The storm was larger than my story. I forwarded it to the regulator with a note, for the public record. An hour later, as we spread a cloth on the sand, Dammy ran to the water and waved his arms, all boy and breeze. I snapped a photo and put my phone away. Behind us, someone cleared his throat. Tun stood there, awkward in shorts, holding a kite. May I? He asked. I hesitated, then nodded. He jogged to Dammy, and together they ran the kite into the sky until it tugged the string with a small, insistent strength. The sun sank. The lagoon glowed. For a breath, Lagos looked like hope. My phone buzzed one last time that evening. A blogger's headline, Mistress speaks. He promised me the world. DNA says otherwise. The article ended with a line that would follow me for months. She's not the villain, she's the mirror. I closed the tab. Not every reflection needed my attention. I leaned back on the sand and let the wind write a softer chapter across my skin. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below. The day of the court's final orders arrived with a harmattan haze that made Lagos look like a memory. I wore a simple navy dress and flats that wouldn't betray me on slick floors. Tund wore a dark suit that tried to swallow him whole. We sat apart and close and waited for the judge. She entered, robes rustling like stern wind, and read everything into the record: the marital settlement, the co-parenting plan, the financial support, the non-disparagement clause, the condition that any new partners be introduced gently, slowly, with a therapist's counsel, the admonition that this court would brook no more public disgrace at school gates or on social media. Then she added something we hadn't expected. Given the evidence presented to the regulator and this court's interest in the welfare of the child, both parties will attend a 6-week co-parenting class. Attendance is mandatory. Completion will be reflected in your file. We nodded, chastened. Even victories come with homework. Outside, the press gathered like rain. We walked past microphones with our mouths closed and our spines straight. The city buzzed in our pockets, but we didn't feed it. At home, I sat with Dammy at the dining table, spread out colored pens, and drew the new schedule in boxes. Monday to Wednesday with me, I said. Thursday to Friday with Daddy. Saturdays, we share. Sundays, church with me, lunch with Daddy. And you can call either of us any time. He colored over the days with his own logic: blue for weekdays, green for weekends, yellow for public holidays. Then he drew a small kite in the corner and a little cake. So we remember happy things, he said. The bakery thrummed. Orders returned and multiplied. A women's guild booked 3 months of events. A bank that had canceled called back. We like how you handled crisis, the woman said. We want your cakes, and your story for our Women's Month panel. I spoke at community centers about legal literacy, about keeping receipts, about telling the truth even when your voice shook. I started a Saturday class teaching teenage girls to make puff-puff that could pay school fees. I wrote Echoes of Africa on the whiteboard and told them our stories are capital. I said domestic betrayal and infidelity in marriage out loud and watched shame evaporate like mist under noon. 3 months later, I flew to Johannesburg with Dami and Onika for the Institute program. The campus smelled like yeast and metal and possibility. In a class on recipe costing, I learned how to stretch flavors without stretching lies. In a workshop on community training, I realized revenge can look like a room full of women starting microbusinesses. On the last day, we visited a lion park. Dami pressed his palm to the glass and whispered, "They look like big cats from cartoons." "They are," I said. "But they have teeth." We returned to Lagos with new recipes, certificates, and a plan. I launched a training arm of the bakery. Small classes for women starting from small kitchens. We called it Kitchens of Courage. A sponsor, Quiet, Kind, covered fees for the first 20 women. Tund completed his co-parenting class and started showing up not just on paper but in person. At school picks, at doctor visits, at piano recitals. He apologized to the principal and the guard. He paid support on time. He answered regulators' questions with lawyers beside him. He looked smaller, less polished, more human. One Saturday, he arrived with a plain envelope. "For Dami's education fund," he said. "From selling my second car." I nodded. "Thank you." He shifted his weight. "The commission will probably fine me. Maybe ban me for a time." "You'll survive," I said. "We all will, in different ways." He looked at me. "Do you ever want—" He stopped, searching for a word that didn't exist anymore. "No," I said gently. "We're not a couple waiting in the wings. We're co-parents learning a duet." He smiled, an honest one. "Then let's not miss cues." Months passed. Lagos did what Lagos does. Moved on to new scandals, new weddings, new floods, new jokes. But in our small world, the work remained. Packing school lunches, fixing power outages at dawn, pricing flour when the naira wobbled, answering midnight questions from women whose husbands loved parties more than hospitals. One evening, after closing the bakery, I stood at the door watching the street. A young couple argued softly by a kiki. An old man in a brown cap bought akara and smiled with all his gums. A girl in a school uniform rehearsed a speech as she walked. The city, always a chorus, sang something I could finally hear again. My phone buzzed. A message from Beezy. Months of silence broken. "The baby is not his. I wanted you to know. I am learning. I am working. I am sorry." I typed back, "Thank you for telling me. Keep working. We all are." On our 1-year mark from the hospital night, I took Dami to the ER with a thank you cake for the nurses. They laughed and cut slices and told me my blood pressure looked like music. I stood under the fluorescents and didn't flinch. At home, we had a small dinner with Onika and a few friends. We ate jollof and chicken, and someone put on a playlist of old Nigerian love songs. We danced badly and laughed loudly. When the generator cut for a moment, we lit candles and kept moving. Later on the balcony, I watched the city glow and dim and glow again. I thought of the rooftop party and the hospital curtain, the school gate and the regulator's office, the beach kite and the bakery's first class of women counting profits that were more than numbers. If I had to name the taste of the year, it wouldn't be revenge. It would be resilience. Spiced, smoky, a little bitter at the start, sweet at the swallow, nourishing all the way down. I tucked Dami in and kissed his hair. He murmured without waking, "Good night, Mummy." In the living room, the certificates hung like quiet flags. In the kitchen, tomorrow's orders waited. In my chest, peace settled like a cat at last choosing a lap. For the first time since the night of white hospital light, I allowed myself a full breath that didn't hurt. He had chosen a mistress's party over me. I had chosen a future over him. And that, finally, was the ending and the beginning. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. Share your thoughts in the comments. What part of this journey moved you most, and where are you watching from?